kind of brouhaha is this? Content is explicit. You have been warned.
Welcome. You are listening to Bewitch Banter with two best friends.
One skeptical, Amy right here next to me.
And my resident birthday hoe, Krista, who's also a believer.
Sure am. Identify hardcore as a believer. You're welcome. Also,
what do you believe in?
I believe in the spooky, spiritual, paranormal, witches, witchcraft, and magic, which we will be returning to our roots today covering. So I'm super stoked.
Yes, we are covering witches, like from episode 1, our very first. And we thought for our anniversary, because we are expecting.
Year 2 of us expecting. Last year I was expecting 2. Damn, she knocked me up. I got 2
cheers
in 2 years. Cheers. But for real, cheers to her sister who literally just gave birth.
I know. I'm a proud auntie.
2 teddies. Well, Theo and Teddy. But, you know, similar thing. And so it's really cool. So shout out to Zoe and Chris. Congratulations, you guys. We welcome another Teddy anytime. So like I said, we're going back to our roots today, but I'm not going to cover the amazing, stereotypical witch that we think of oftentimes today that you covered, way back in episode 1. Amy, nailed it and talked about why we think of witches the way we do, where the broom came from, the pointy hat, the black cat. If you want to hear all of that history, go back to episode 1, and Amy does a really good job telling you about it. Today, though, I am covering why there's such a resurgence of witchcraft and magic, spiritualism in the 2020s. And there's been multiple resurgences, which we'll get to and I'll tell, but in our times, in our day, it's really back at it in the last 5 to 10 years, which I think is pretty fucking cool. I'm included, as a practitioner of tarot and meditation, daily meditation, and I have essential oils all over my house. Example, this lovely diffuser my new roomie got me, and this candle Amy made me for our birthday. Our Bewitched baby.
We lost all of your candle blogger.
So also, if you ever want to start a podcast with your best friend, maybe don't. I'm just playing. It's just a lot of work. Don't think that these influencers don't do anything, because they do a lot.
Are you a said influencer? You get on stage once and you think you're an influencer.
Oh, I wish. So I did go on stage today for we went to 90s drag brunch. Super fun.
90s Halloween drag brunch.
Yeah, posted by
some Scream, some Drew Barrymore in drag.
So good. Espressa Grande, local queen who puts on amazing shows every week. So at Copper Blues Live.
Amazing.
She's incredible. I got up once, like Amy said, and my heart wouldn't stop pounding for 20 minutes. My cardio needs some work. I can't breathe. So again, we're going back to witches, which not new in our imagination. They've been around and in real life for hundreds of years. But the issue was that, our good old friend, the Catholic Church, made them all into bad women because they, God forbid, had a ton.
Tale as old as time.
Tale
She's smart, intelligent. She's a witch.
God forbid, a woman has an opinion. She's a witch. So we're going to cover a little bit of the resurgences in the past, but mostly why today, and the psychology, history, cultural things that are making magic and practitioners and practitioning and magic so popular. All right, so that's what we're doing. Or kind of 3 lenses to look at magic from. And the first one comes from an anthropologist.
Anthropology and ad.
Yeah, I wish. Sponsor us. Amy would look really good in your clothes. I think I'm too big girl for you guys. Sorry. You can sport them.
They're so real hit or miss though.
Yeah, I love their style of home stuff, but Anthropology Lens, the store, i.e. not OI. Just kidding. Anthropologic lens, which it's often seen as a belief system where members of society, certain members, i.e. women, i.e. lower class usually, as we've discussed back in Ep 1, or women that were disenfranchised communities, had the believed ability to cause harm to others through the means of supernatural means. So that's how you look at it from that view. The second, no shit, religious. So back in the Middle Ages, when things really took a turn though for women, witches, they were bad always, right? Or mostly, but before the Middle Ages, there were witches everywhere. And by witches, all I'm simply saying is healers of any kind, male or female, and of any, and most religions. So you have your natives, and then you have the Celtic women and pagans all over Europe practicing, and just because they could heal with herbs or anything they wanted, they were just savvy naturalists, if you will. And then because of their healing, just natural healing, they were deemed bad.
But you think they'd be praised for healing people?
But because of Christianity, our dear friends, they dubbed these women as devil worshippers just because of the herbs in which they practice in.
But do you think it's like they're jealous? They have like this
1000%.
healing power and they don't.
Not only are they jealous, they're afraid because what it did was give women power. Exactly. Power.
Yeah, and they're like worried they're going to take over probably.
Exactly. Third lens is cultural. And again, there's been many movements of resurgence of witchcraft, the word witch, magic. One of the first ones was actually in the 50s, in our modern era when Wicca was born. But Wicca and paganism began to really surface, excuse me. It was born in the 50s. Then you move to the 70s and you have Vietnam War, women's lib, a lot of stuff going on that was really scary. The war, obviously in Vietnam, you had people dying, you had women taking back their own power in many ways, but it was very much a tumultuous time. We didn't know what was going to happen. Which, then we cut to the 90s. We didn't have as much scariness with war, but it was still a really wild time, as we know. We're 90s babies. But as it relates to witches, the 90s had really allowed it to be okay for people to openly be witches, if you will. So you had TV shows like The Craft and movies like Charmed. Sabrina the Teenage Witch is literally my next one. 90s we grew up in had all these things, and it kind of allowed it to be like okay to at least be witch curious, if you will. Not like you couldn't call yourself a witch. You could, but most didn't. And
maybe they were secretly a witch behind closed doors. Which I think is still the case for a lot of people.
It is, and we're going to get to a little bit of that. But if we kind of akin this back to we're going to today, the 2020s, it kind of is akin to the 1970s in that, the world's in great turmoil, and the youths, what up, Grace? Gen Z sees the world ending around them. Literally, it's on fire. It's underwater. Ice caps are melting. People are dying and or killing ourselves.
Damn, should we end the episode?
It's a tough world, and Gen Z feels and sees that, and they're very, thankfully, politically active and smart. I think more so than we. Like, we learned about it. We absorbed it. But they're taking more action, I feel like, than we did.
But I didn't feel like the world felt like it was ending when we were in our 20s.
Yeah, that's true.
Dramatically in the past, I would have to say the past 13 years, how my outlook. Well, that's what happens when you hear too much about climate change.
Exactly. And that's what many of the articles I read was kind of prescribing as a cause for the rise in witchcraft today, because our Gen Zers want to take back their power somehow in any way they can. And one way to do that is, of course, through means of magic. All right. So there's this article from a YouTube segment on Global News by Alyssa Julie. And she says, quote, "Witchcraft on the rise." Sorry, no, this is the title. This YouTube story is called The Rise of Witchcraft, Why the Magic of the Past Still Enchants Us. Great title, by the way, Alyssa. Good job. As they did in the 70s, young people feel their future as under threat. And during times of crisis, so many of us turn to the mystical. Add to that, a pandemic. Magic offers a way for some to take back control. End quote. So basically, like what I just said, whenever we feel,
basically what she said.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's just a means for us to take back our autonomy and feel some semblance of that there's some type of positive things that you can make the world better in some way, even if it's still burning around you.
I get it.
Okay.
I don't believe it. Kind of like any religion, right? Don't most people partake in religion because it makes them feel better at the end of the day?
Absolutely. Exactly.
It's not always because they're so like, I want to give to God. It's sometimes like for them.
Absolutely.
I feel good. I went to church today. Better than you.
Remember that time some guy I dated made me watch a church service? All right, so we're back to now. Not only do we have the world-ending piece, but there's also the internet and TikTok. And she's way more of a TikToker than I am. God bless. But Gen Z has really found this as a home to express this belief in witchcraft and the study of and practice of magic. And that includes all things. It's not just spells and rituals. It's tarot, astrology, a lot of things I'm into, meditation. There's a whole branch on there that's really about people going back to their cultural roots as well. So Witch Talk, hashtag Witch Talk has had more than 32 billion views, and that was a year ago. Again, the resurgence is nothing new. We've had several in our country and across the world before for a myriad of reasons I already covered. It just so happens that I think not only do we have the internet, but we also have more awareness and we're way more attuned to inclusivity than we ever have been, I think, in the past and even in our generation. So let me tell you a little bit more about some sub TikToks. This is primarily, by the way, from a PBS episode called Subculture by Joseph Lorenzo. It says, witches are taking over the internet. Here's why. This is from last October, but he spoke with a psychic medium from Vietnam. He spoke with a witch talker named Lex Heavy and a professor named Dr. Maria de Blasi, but she's also a self-proclaimed bruja, which in Spanish means witch. So, like, you know the term brujeria? Mm-hmm. Like, brujaha? There's bruja. What kind of brujaha is this?
Yeah.
So, in this PBS coverage, by the way, he's such a cute little kid. I wish he was one of my students. Some people think that the popularity is actually a direct link from when COVID started. And some of the research he pointed to came from data journalists from Brand Wrath, and they found a 4% increase in the search of the occult and or witches and magic in those mentions day or week over week. So like I could link it directly to the isolation and the people needing to find something, as we were just discussing, of like you're saying.
They also say people are more lonely than they've ever been.
Which there are some solo practitioners, me right now, and I'm actually, we're gonna get to that at the end, but I still don't consider myself a witch yet, only because I haven't done the work in the reading and the studying, and it does take time and work. But I am reading a lot of things that
you're an emerging witch.
I am. I'm an apprentice, if you will, and what I have learned in my journey of apprenticeship is it's really whatever magic you prescribe to yourself. In a sense, it all comes from inside.
It sounds like something Oprah preached. Is she the real witch?
Wait, are you saying I'm an Oprah again? Because I'm honored.
No, I'm not saying you're Oprah. Tell me more witchy shit.
People are lonely. Millennials are like, the world's ending.
Sad.
The world's ending.
God, this is real uplifting. So they turn to make believe.
So they turn to magic. Better. But again, there's been, because of that and many other factors we discussed, there's been this coming out of the witch closet in the last 10 years. Our OG millennial beliefs about witches, though, we couldn't really fully come out. As I said, there were solo practitioners or behind closed doors because it was still laced with so much judgment.
So millennials are still in the closet.
A lot of us, not all of us, but when witches were a thing in our day, back in our day, the OG millennials,
when I had teeth
and no hemorrhoids, in our day, it was still kind of popular to not nearly like persecution or death like countless innocent women experienced because they were deemed a witch, but they couldn't come out. But we couldn't use the word witch even if we were into it. Again, like Sabrina the Teenage Witch, The Craft, all that shit was really cool. But it was still, like, seen as, like, dark or weird or, like, think of, like, Wednesday Addams super popular right now. Or
I won't lie. If you told me you're a witch, I'm going to think you're weird.
That's the way we were framed. If a Gen Z told Gen Z, they'd be like, oh, cool. You know?
Yeah, and I guess I'm old school in that way.
So.
I'm sorry, witches.
Well.
I mean, I'm just saying it. If we're being honest, I would think you're weird.
Well, I think it's bullshit because of all my research in this and our research over the last 2 years that we are now
I'm not saying I'm right. I'm saying that's just how I feel.
But I'm saying, because you're such a feminist, that pisses me off, because the only reason you feel that way is because you were trained to think it's black magic or dark or occult or devil worship.
Oh, I'm probably definitely brainwashed.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
But we all are.
Exactly. So,
I mean,
I'm trying to educate y'all right here, right now.
If we weren't brainwashed, we wouldn't all go to our 9-to-5s. We wouldn't do a lot of things if we weren't brainwashed.
I know. Back to Witchcraft. As you can imagine, there's some positives and some negatives. In addition to the resurgence because of COVID and the world ending, as I said now 8 times, there's a lot of research that shows that people, are looking for DIY religions. I cover that way early on to probably episode 1 or 2 as well. And that people are less affiliated with traditional Catholicism or Christianity or organized religion as a whole, whatever sect it is.
And I also would go to say, if you're any religion, I think you're kind of weird.
Yeah, Amy's a non-religion fan. And
I guess that's just, so I'm not, and then I think if someone explained to me, I'd be open-minded. I'm just not saying I'm trying to be a total bitch. My initial reaction would be weirded out.
Yeah.
I'm also weirded out when people are, like, really Christian.
Yeah. No thanks.
That freaks me out, too.
Nobody got time for that.
So I guess it goes all the way. And then probably people think it's weird I don't believe anything, so it goes all the ways.
Justina ate my beer goes all ways, guys. So,
yeah.
I had to have this one quote because it talks about parents were at Woodstock. So, this is from another article about the resurgence of witchcraft, actually from a Christian website. Their quote, "Their grandparents were at Woodstock," said Helen Berger, a longtime researcher of witchcraft at Brandeis University. "It's not that they're rejecting religion outright, they're rejecting the main established religions with too many generalized rules and that are too unindividualized." So again, people are
I don't know what she said.
You don't?
No, what she said.
They're rejecting religion outright because they had hippie parents, essentially.
Oh, is this a Christian Karen?
No, this is a Mike James, actually, a fella.
Okay.
But he's just talking about the reason that, again, witchcraft is resurging even among quote-unquote young Christians. Mm-hmm. And it's because
I get it now. Okay.
So many of us don't identify with Christianity or any major organized religion anymore. And so because of that, we don't have to follow the strict dogma of whatever those rituals or parameters are.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right? All right. So with this embracing, lots of positives, lots of negatives.
Okay.
Don't look at my notes. What are some of the positives, do you think?
Well, it promotes feminism.
Yes. I
think it would promote, like, free thinking, question things. It could promote community.
Yes.
It could promote more positive thinking. It could promote, like, escapism.
Yeah. Good job. 100 A+.
Oh, damn. Okay.
A+. You actually said everything, a lot of things I didn't even have on my list, but you nailed a lot of them.
Wasn't that like any positive in most religions, apart from the questioning and free thinking? Well, feminism, I guess, goes against most patriarchal religions. Exactly. It's all like praise Jesus, who's man, praise God, who's always referred to as a man. Okay, so what's the positives I didn't mention?
Showing people how to take back their own power within from themselves, right? Okay. Self-autonomy, self-love kind of thing. Nature. Mm-hmm. So big part of this is reconnecting with her.
Okay.
Which I think you would love about it. Amy's a big hiker and loves to be outside. She walks 20 miles a day.
Okay, negative?
Yeah, what would be some potential negatives of this practice or it coming back out as popular?
So negatives as being a witch or negative having the religion in society?
Either.
Well, I could see the negatives, they get judged a shit ton.
Yep.
people start to believe weird things that aren't real. Sometimes fantasy starts to become real, and like Slender Man. I don't know. Were they witches?
Wait, what's that?
The Slender Man. What's the one where it's like those middle school girls? There's like that video game and like made them go kill their friend. Is that Slender Man? Anyway.
But yes,
detaching yourself from reality. And sometimes I think some people don't know when they need to rope themselves back into reality.
Yeah.
Or false thinking, like, oh, if I sit on my couch and cast this spell, all this stuff will happen. Yeah. And it's like, no, it's not how the world works. Set your intentions.
In prayer and meditation intention.
But you have to go out and have action.
You have to, exactly.
Is that what?
Guys, she should have been a therapist. I told her today.
No.
But she's not. All right, there's one big negative you did not touch on, which I'm shocked. Think about Sylvia Brown.
Oh, where people use it like to take advantage of people.
Scammers. So that cute little kid on the PBS, he was a young man. Let me stop.
But what little kid?
One of my sources was from a PBS series.
Okay.
And he looked like a patootie little kid, but he was like a young man.
Oh, okay.
This negative that he brought up was scammers. And in said video, he was talking about how, and this has actually happened to me, where, like, I follow a lot of tarot meditation people, that you start to like a page if you think that the reader or the spiritual person that, you know, you want to follow. And then immediately you get bots coming in your inbox saying, I'll give you a reading for a fee kind of thing.
Oh, it's kind of like that whole spiritual guru thing that's like taking over TikTok and like cults can like get people online now.
Exactly. Nailed it. So it's kind of scary in that sense. You said this already, using practices to harm others, right? Like bad spells or dark magic. And these are the two that get me the most, as you know me very well. Cultural appropriation, but also the unnecessary persecution of people's roots and spiritual practices of people who for generations have already been maligned by Christianity. So those are some of the negatives that can, you know, which would keep people from being more out of the witch closet, if you will, right? So,
okay.
Regardless, it's still everywhere with 32 billion views, as I said, on TikTok and Witch Talk specifically. So that's what I have on that. But I wanted to harken back to that first episode again one more time. Do you remember in the episode, I think it was that episode, you were like, would you consider yourself a witch? Do you remember my reply?
You just said it earlier.
Yeah, same answer as I just said. Then I said no, I don't, because I haven't done the research or the reading or spent the time studying. So one of the books I have been reading though in this journey it's right over there. It's called Positive Magic: A Toolkit for the Modern Witch. And her whole moral of that so far is it's almost like one of the commandments, and again I'm coming at it from a Catholic lens because that's my roots, but you don't do harm unto others, right? Even if they do harm unto you, you don't. By a rule, steadfast rule, you don't practice negative magic, if you will, because when you set an intention, you put it out in the universe, and change events can happen. So being very, very intentional with your words and your actions. But if you do put something negative out there, no matter what your spiritual belief is, I believe it'll come back at you in some way or some form. If you intentionally try to harm another, I think it will come back to you.
That's very wishful thinking, but it'd be nice to think that.
So you don't believe in karma?
Sometimes, but not all the time. There's lots of people who get away with lots of stuff.
Well, how do you know they get away with it? It's like obviously legally we can see that effect, but like you don't know what they're going through with their health or.
But you don't know, like, I don't know. I feel like there are people who haven't got caught and they got away with stuff and they live happy after.
I don't know. That's depressing for me to think about, but I believe, and maybe this is because what I need to believe again to our conversation earlier.
It's again magical thinking. Like, I don't know. I think it's weird you think that because you're the one who's always saying people are shitty.
Yeah, that's why it'll come back to you if you act like a shitty person.
I don't think that your actions don't come back to haunt you, but there are certain people who just seem to skate by.
There are
terrible like CEOs who make billions off of people, and they're terrible people.
Not the submersible guy.
Well,
too soon?
It would be nice to think it would catch up with people, but I don't know if that's the reality, but it's a comforting thought.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And I feel like that's very wishful thinking.
Well, then I'll be blissfully naive, according
I
to
don't
her.
feel like you really believe that based off what you said before in other episodes.
That I don't believe in karma?
I mean, everyone believes in karma, but does it always get everyone?
I don't know. I
don't
think
think
so.
so.
Regardless, the point of this book is whether it gets everyone or not. And the point is, in her...
I mean, I think it's a great... Basically, she's preaching in a fancy way. She's trying to fancy up thought of positive things.
Yeah.
But trying to make it witchy.
And
like, package it in PR in a different...
Well, she passed away, but yeah. She was very popular in that world. In the 90s, actually. So it's been a while since she
I'm not saying it's a terrible idea to spread it. I mean, a lot more people need to think positive, so...
I agree.
But I don't really think it's true.
Instead of wishing bad on people, using magic as a reason to do spell work, if you will, for the negative, you use it for only the positive, and mostly for within yourself.
So it's like PR 101, be a positive thinker. Set positive
Honestly,
intention.
yeah.
Just, it was packaged differently as a witch.
So, book sales, speaking of, another stat for you, of Witchcraft are up 43% year over year, according to an NPD book scan. This which tracks publishing and books. And that growth is outpacing the total growth of those books on the nonfiction market. So, again, a time where people are really searching.
So is it categorized as fiction?
No. Witchcraft.
That's a little concerning to me. So people are reading more about witches than nonfiction?
Yeah, that is a little scary.
A little concerned, sorry.
No, at first I read it as fiction because that's just, I'm biased, obviously, because I'm into this, but that is concerning. Well, there you have it, folks. No, this is actually kind of happy. So, are you ready to end this? This is about witches reclaiming their power in a story called Resurgence of Witches and Their Power. Well, we see the revival of witchcraft in our current time as a reassertion of power for women. In the past, they were ostracized, even when they were helping their persecutors. Again, abortion providers or herbalists still got murdered unfairly and unjustly. Women are reclaiming their female power in this way, and this makes sense, especially when so many women were unfairly and brutally condemned as witches. My book, Lost Soul, Wise Soul, explores how many of us carrying debilitating traumas from the past can be resolved and repurposed. So, end quote, we can use, it's really just going within. Essentially, if we're really going to break it down, reclaiming your power and owning whatever that is to you. As long as you're not, in my opinion, doing harm to others purposefully. That is the resurgence of witchcraft thanks to TikTok, essentially, the internet, and the world ending, you know? So those are the big factors of why it's so popular. The end of my resurgence of witchcraft in the 2020s of the evening.
She's a witch.
I am practicing.
Okay.
Learning.
Should we say goodbye to our listeners?
Yes. We love you all.
Be wary of royal thirsty men. That's my advice.
And men with six packs. That's my advice.
Yes, that's my advice too. Good night.
Please be witches.
Thanks for listening. Check us out on Instagram or bewitchbanter.com. Suggestions for the show? Email us at bewitchbanter@gmail.com. Credits, music Phantom Fun by Jonathan Boyle from premiumbeat.com. Podcasts, edited and produced by Krista Hins and Amy Holt. As always, if you enjoyed, please rate, review, and subscribe.